For the human animal, the most important relationship it will ever have is with its parents, particularly its mother. Parents lay the groundwork for a child's future development. Often the outcome is irreversible. Along with man, other primates also share an intense parent-child relationship. In a moment, we'll look at the varieties of mothering and fathering within the animal kingdom. No place on Earth is too remote to study animals and their young. High in northern Europe, on the coast of Norway, lie the Lofoten Islands, breeding grounds for millions of seabirds. Arriving here in the summer are razorbills, green cormorants, puffins, and guillemots. Also arriving each summer is Professor Beat Chans of the University of Bern, Switzerland. His particular study is the parent-child relationship of guillemots. A modern animal behaviorist, Dr. Chans has exchanged his white coat for climbing gear and taken to the field. In this case, the jagged cliffs where guillemots nest in dense crowds on narrow ledges. Each pair produces only one egg a year, and an unusually strong relationship develops between the parents and their young. Emerging into this dense colony, a chick is surrounded by tumult. It seems impossible that the young bird could learn to recognize its parents in this crowd. But it must, for without them, the chick would be lost. Just how baby guillemots learn to pick out their parents is the subject of Dr. Chans's study. And it is here that he prepares to carry out some unique experiments. With the help of a tape recorder, he hopes to prove that a baby guillemot recognizes the individual call of its own parents. First, he places a chick in a bag so that it's invisible to the parents. This will make them call for it. And it's the parental call that Chans wants to record. Later, the recording of this call will be used in the next step of the experiment, all carried out hundreds of feet above the sea in as unlikely a spot as anyone might expect. Before he can play back the tape, Chans needs to find out how two baby guillemots will react to the sight of the loudspeaker. First, the chick whose parents' call he has recorded. Secondly, a chick selected at random. To both, the speaker seems to be a terrifying sight. But when the adult bird's call is played back, Chans gets a different reaction. Instead of avoiding the speaker, the chick whose parents' call was recorded leaves its hiding place. To the other chick, the call is meaningless. But the first continues to approach the speaker as if this mechanical voice box were its mother. From his experiment, Chans knows that a guillemot chick recognizes its own parents by sound. But when does the chick learn the call? Answering this question will require another experiment. Getting down isn't easy, for Chance must make a few nest stops to collect guillemot eggs, and they're laid on precarious perches. But he needs them for his next test. Here the eggs are placed in an incubator where they will stay until almost ready to hatch. The day before an egg is due to hatch, Chance takes it out of the incubator and plays back the recorded call of its parents. Then we hear a remarkable sound. Even though it hasn't yet hatched, the chick answers. Almost miraculously, a chick seems to learn its parents' call before it ever sees them. If true, this means a chick is born with the information it will need to survive. How do we know it's the parents' call rather than a random noise the unhatched chick is responding to? Chance isn't willing to draw a hasty conclusion. He wants some hard evidence. To get it, he covers 2 tape recorders so that they both appear the same to the chick. From the left comes the parent's call that the chick heard while still in its egg. From the right, the call of a strange guillemot. To us, both calls sound exactly alike, but the chick can distinguish between them. It goes toward the call it recognizes. Strong evidence that chicks do indeed learn their parents' call while still in the egg. Now Chance prepares another experiment, this time to learn whether a baby bird can also recognize its parents by sight. First, the chick is trained to regard a glove as its mother. Exactly as it would huddle under its mother's wing, the chick seeks shelter and warmth from the gloves. How strong an impression has been made? To find out, Chance removes one glove. Reversing the experiment, Chance takes a new chick. For this one, bare hands become its substitute mother. When gloved and ungloved hands are placed at equal distances from this chick, it too looks for the familiar, the hand it has learned to accept as its parent. It's clear that guillemot chicks can recognize their parents through 2 sets of signals, sight and sound. But which signal is more important? This time a chick has the choice between a known glove and a known parent call. It's the luring call that proves to be the most important bond between guillemot parents and their chick. The overpowering signal that enables the young to survive. Spinner moths, unlike guillemots, simply bring their young into the world and abandon them. The spinner moth's sole reason for existence is to reproduce. That achieved, it dies. Shortly after hatching, the moth's courtship begins. With his antennae, a newly hatched male finds a female by her scent, produced by a gland on her abdomen. She's not far away, just hatched on a neighboring branch. Courtship is short, but mating may last up to 2 days. After mating, the female lays the fertilized eggs in separate clusters. Her sole maternal act is to choose a special plant, because caterpillars of this species eat only the leaves of the Chinese oak. If she laid the eggs on any other plant, her young would starve. Soon after egg laying, both male and female will die. The young will be parentless, but the survival of the species is ensured through an abundance of eggs, hundreds and hundreds of them. In the caterpillar stage, many will be eaten by birds or die of disease. But enough will survive to ensure another generation of spinner moths. Unlike spinner moths, sticklebacks have a parental relationship with their young. But it's with only one parent, the male. Male and female sticklebacks get together only after the male has built a nest for the eggs. First, he digs a hollow in the sand, carefully removing plants and small stones. When the hollow is ready, he collects bits of plant material and carries them to the nest site. Here, he sticks them together with a secretion from his kidneys. He doesn't have to learn the art of nest building. Everything he needs to know to fulfill his role as a father is innate. When the nest is ready, the male fetches a partner. But before she can move in, the chosen female has to wait while the male bores a tunnel through his nest. Then he swims to the female and with quivering movements shows her the nest entrance. By gently nudging her tail, he induces her to spawn. After laying about 200 eggs, the female leaves the nest and the male swims inside to fertilize them. Then he chases her away, for in this species, fathering is more important than mothering. It's the male's role to look after the brood. During their development, the eggs need a steady supply of oxygen, which he provides by continuously fanning fresh water over them. Very soon, the tiny fish begin to develop, and within a week after the eggs were laid, they hatch. Guarding his swarm of young, the male quickly retrieves any that ventures too far by sucking the wandering youngster into his mouth and spitting it out again into the swarm of its brothers and sisters. His fathering lasts only 14 days. After that, he leaves the young to survive on their own. Both father and mother care for baby blackbirds during their first weeks of life, when they're completely helpless. To get food, the babies who are still blind simply gape whenever the mother or father lands on the nest. To gape at the right moment, they rely on a simple signal, the slight vibration caused by the parent's arrival. Animal behaviorists have learned that any nest vibration will make them open their mouths. A reflex action that's innate, passed from generation to generation. Another remarkable example of how nature looks out for survival even before birth. One week later, the chick's eyes are open, but they don't yet recognize their parents. Still relying on nest vibration as the clue to food, they aim upwards and wait. Their bright orange mouths stand out like targets for the adults. After each feeding, blackbird parents have one other duty, removing the small waste sacs. When they're somewhat older, a simple model establishes that they use their eyes to some extent. A slightly more complex model draws a more noticeable reaction. But the chicks aren't very discriminating visually. For the nest-bound young, this seems sufficient. For blackbirds, parenthood centers on food. But as we'll see in a moment, among other species, being a parent is much more complex. Among monkeys, the relationship between mother and child is long and intense, akin to our own. Normally, squirrel monkeys live in the treetops of the South American jungle, but these live in the Max Planck Research Institute in Munich, Germany, where animal behaviorists study them. Only 3 days old, this baby spends half the day sleeping. For transportation, protection, and food, it depends on its mother. And it also depends on some innate reflexes, such as suckling. Also innate are the gripping and climbing reflexes with which it holds fast to its mother's fur. Important survival techniques to animals that usually spend their lives swinging through trees. For the group's childless females, a new baby is something to be fondled and investigated thoroughly. Their curiosity disturbs the mother, who shows her annoyance with a powerful pinch on the nose. At 4 weeks, an age when some young creatures are already fending for themselves, a baby squirrel monkey sleeps a third of the day, still clings to its mother, and makes only halting ventures away from the security of her body. Gradually, the baby begins to make contact with other members of the group. But even this early attempt to socialize depends on the very strong mother-child bond. A kind of home base from which the young monkey can explore its environment and to which it can always return for food and safety and sleep. At 5 weeks, the baby is a little more adventurous. It's a long way from being independent. It still clings to its mother. Now it climbs also onto the backs of other females, a way of getting to know the members of its group. Finally, the time comes when the mother tries to make her baby independent. In this instance, an attempt to get it off her back. Still, for many months, the mother will remain her child's refuge, even though it leaves her more and more. At 10 weeks, the young monkey has all its baby teeth and can eat solid food, an important step towards independence. Its weight has tripled and it needs little more sleep than the adults. Now everything is fascinating. Through endless games, the baby explores its surroundings, discovering something new every day. But there is much more to learn, and it still needs a safe place to which it can return in an emergency: its mother. Only when it's 2 years old will it be an adult and no longer need her. A long and close relationship between mother and child is characteristic of the primate family, from baboon to man. In this, primates have advantages over the lower animals. From parental example, a young primate learns the survival patterns of its species. Secure in its mother's care, it can freely explore and adapt to new situations while testing newly discovered skills. As with man, prolonged parental care is a powerful influence on the young, shaping and molding them, ensuring a wider range of opportunities, and sometimes even choices for survival.
This is the SCE-TV network, inviting you to meet 3 women who will take us on a haunting tour of Camden. We'll also visit with architects to discover how a museum is designed. All this and